Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for The Flash, Season 1, Episode 6, The Flash is Born. And once again, another great episode, guys. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was definitely very, very well done, the way this episode was done. I really liked a lot of stuff that's going on in this episode. Definitely Barry had to deal with one of his toughest criminals yet. I mean, this was a criminal where if they wanted to, this could have taken like a couple of episodes to solve, but because this is a procedural show, that's not what's going to happen. But let's just get to it, because overall, I really enjoyed this episode. Not the best episode of the season, but I kind of feel like I know what the Flash is doing. I feel like we're not going to get like a really like grade A amazing episode till Flash versus Arrow. I just feel it's not going to happen yet, so let's just get to it. So basically we see that Iris is writing her blog, and she's thanking the Red Streak for the work that he's doing for the city. And just then she's whisked away up to the roof by the Flash, and basically the Flash is trying to convince Iris that she needs to stop writing her blog. And of course, she has not stopped because basically she doesn't know, of course, Barry's secret, so obviously she's not just gonna randomly stop writing about the Flash because it interests her, and if she keeps writing about the Flash, I mean, that's what interests her, that's what she wants to write about, and Barry's not gonna stop her, and you can tell that right away, that she wants to do her own thing, pretty much. So, it definitely is really crazy what's going on here. So basically, she says that she and Barry are not on the same page, and in the meantime, trouble is striking, and Barry has to rush on his conversation to follow a hijacked Humvee. So Joe and Eddie, they're firing at the Humvee, and Eddie notices that he's hitting the target, but nothing is happening. And that was really interesting, because, I mean, they're hitting, like, the villain, but, like, literally nothing is happening to this guy. And that's because he can turn into iron. Barry catches up with the villain, Girder, and he tries to punch him. However, he breaks his hands in the process and put out military of misery pretty fast, and that was definitely very crazy. Especially the fact when we saw that he really couldn't save him. I mean, Barry's, like, really fast, and he can't even, like, do anything to him, because this guy's literally iron. So I, myself, was like, okay, this villain's really cool. I definitely really like him. He's probably one of the best villains I think we've had on the show so far. I really enjoyed his, character. So, Flash tries to convince Iris that she needs to stop. Oh, I just read this. Basically, back at the lab, Cisco and Kanan, they are arguing, and they see Barry in his state after battle. His hand is fractured in 13 places, and I thought that was crazy that it just got fractured in 13 places. And it appears that Barry thinks that he is somehow knows Girder. So I myself is kind of like, huh? How are they related? Like, what's really going on there? And what we find out, I think, is very well done, definitely. And I like the way they made the procedural element like an actual part of the story, which I definitely really like. I definitely did a really good job with that. And it makes the show fresh and interesting, and I like that. The cases, while they are just for one episode, they're never boring, which I definitely like. So, back at the precinct, Joe is looking over footage of a young Barry trying to explain what he saw when his mother died. And the second he saw that, I'm like, okay, we're definitely going to get back to that story, because that's been one of the most, interesting plot lines that they've talked about, and I'm glad that they're finally getting back to that. So Joe tells Barry that he needs to work with Eddie because he saw something he can't explain, and Barry looks to notice the criminal as a big bat, and he finds out, though, that this guy is a bully from his past in school. And I thought that was amazing, basically. And, we see a nice flashback and everything, and we see basically that Girder used to be his bully. And I really liked that twist. I thought that was very well done, and it was cool to see Barry be a little bit defenseless, because we've seen Barry, pretty much be just like the hero of it all and save everyone, but here he was kind of defenseless for what happened. I like seeing that, definitely. It made sense why it was so hard to kill him, and I like that the guy that is made of iron is his bully, and I think that's perfect writing right there. Amazing, right, that they did that, definitely. So Eddie wakes up Barry from a daydream and tells him that it looks like the bullets sparked off on him when he fired at him. And Iris comes to see Eddie, and it's very awkward between her and Barry, because, of course, Iris and Barry, they decided that they're going to take a break from their friendship, of course, so it's very awkward when the two of them are together. First of all, she's completely ignoring Barry. They're not even talking. So, obviously, it's very awkward between them. Barry knows it is, but he had to do what he had to do. And, of course, again, the reason why he did this is only for her safety and for everyone else's safety. And, you know, that's going to be... I really felt bad for Barry, but at the same time, he made this decision. And I think the decision he made was, in my opinion, a good one. I thought it was a good decision, definitely. So... Joe then tells Barry that he needs to work with Eddie because he saw something he cannot explain. And basically, Joe pays Harrison a visit, and he wants to know, he wants Harrison to help him with the murder of Barry's mother. And the second he said that, I'm like, this is going to get very interesting because... They showed a thing on Twitter about this, and it said that Barry might find out, you know, what Harrison's hiding from him and everything. So I was really looking forward to that, definitely. So that's what I was thinking they were going to do. So Barry tells Caitlin and Cisco that he knows who the villain is, and Cisco has the answer to its name, which is Girder. And Barry's still struggling even against the mock metal made a human. And after getting his soldier put back into place, you know, he meets his new partner, Eddie, and Eddie's continuing to question Barry about he and Iris, and tells him that he was once threatened by him. And that was really big when we found out that Eddie was, you know, part of this. So, Barry remembers training against Iris as Joe watched on, and Joe told him that it's okay to run, and I thought this was a very good flashback. I mean, I really like when the show does flashbacks. They do them very rarely, but I wish they do them as frequently as Arrow, because they really do a good job with the flashbacks, definitely. I mean, come on, you know, we want to find out more about his character. If Arrow can do this for every episode, I think The Flash can do it for every episode as well. You know, and I understand why The Flash is not doing it for every episode, because you have to keep the show fresh and new. At the same time, though, I like when Arrow does it, and I love it even more when The Flash does it. Like, they definitely do a very good job with that. So, basically, we see, when is that? Okay, he remembers training against Iris, and Joe was watching on, and Joe had told him that's okay to run the other way if he meets someone he can't fight. And Barry's trying to keep Eddie off the trail, and picks up a sample of his own. So Joe continues to seek advice from Harrison, asks him if he believes that someone with the same abilities could have existed, being the explosion. And Harrison denies it. You know, he says, oh, there's no way something like this could have happened. And of course, as I said before, Harrison is very shady right now. So anything he says, I don't really believe him. I don't really believe what he's saying. I don't really believe what he says. So I don't really, you know, it definitely is very interesting to see Harrison's character. Especially after last week. I definitely don't trust him after last week. So... Barry does something a little bit dangerous, though, in the next scene, because he uses powers, while he and Eddie chased a lead, and that is that's not a good thing at all, because, here's the thing, Iris could walk by, I mean, it's very dangerous, not so dangerous in the sense that he could get hurt or something, it's dangerous in the sense of protecting his cover, and it kind of didn't make sense to me. I'm like, so you want to protect your cover, but you use your powers? Like, that's not a good idea. So they catch up with the worker, who says that Tony snapped after getting his pink slip and had an accident, and meanwhile Tony pays Iris a visit. And Tony clearly shows up to hit on Iris. And you can see that he likes Iris just like Barry did, which makes sense why Tony, you know, picked on Barry when he was, you know, when they were in school. So Tony tells Iris that he knows that the Flash is a coward, and asks her if she knows who the Flash is. And I was like, okay, he is about to tell her, and if he would have told her, I would not have been happy, because, one, this guy's a villain for one episode, and we're probably not going to see him again after this episode. Two, I just thought, overall, like, if he was the one to tell her, it would not be as good as a reveal as it could have been, so I'm glad that he was not the one to tell her. I didn't want him to be the one to tell her. So... a newsflash shows that Tony is wanting Iris, wanted. Iris rushes to dial the police. However, Tony picks up and crushes her cell phone, basically to cover that up. So, Barry and Cisco find out Tony's whereabouts, and Caitlin comes in with a cryptic message from Iris asking to speak to the Flash. Barry shows up to meet Iris. She fills him in on everything. He scolds about the blog, which led Tony to her. So Barry takes off to try to find out more about Tony by checking the accident site and learns his hiding place. Just then, he's attacked by Girder, and Barry's trapped underneath the rubble after the fight, and Caitlin and Cisco find him and bring him back to, a very upset Harrison. And, Harrison's obviously very upset about that. So, Cisco tells him that he would have to hit a match 1 in order to do some damage to Girder. And if Barry does not hit the speed he needs, he could shatter every bone in his body. Which I thought was crazy, because, I mean, this guy is, so fast. I didn't think that was possible. So I do like that we saw the weaknesses that really comes with this. What this episode also really showed was sort of, the downside of what Barry has. Even though he has these powers, there is a downside to it, which I thought was well done. I like seeing that, definitely, because I thought that was, interesting to watch. So Joe gives Barry a pep talk just before Eddie comes in by asking him to help relieve his frustrations in the gym. So Eddie gives Barry the rundown on how life was like, and even inspired Barry to hit harder than he's ever hit before. So Joe and Harrison, they're continuing to meet about the murder of Barry's mother, and Joe stumbles upon the idea that there was another particle accelerator before the one that caused the explosion. So this was really interesting, because just then Joe asked him what he was doing before he created the first particle accelerator. And this was just amazing what happened here, because I'm like, I think Joe's going to find out what, at this point, I'm like, I think he's going to find out what's really going on here. Because he asked him a very interesting question. He asked him what Harrison was doing before he created the first particle accelerator. And he realized that Harrison opened his labs just 1 month after Barry's mother was murdered. So this makes me very suspicious, and kind of makes me feel like he killed his mom. I kind of feel like I know what's going on here. I feel like he killed his mom, and what's happening is that he basically doesn't want to remember it, or maybe he did something to, kill his mom because he was protecting him or something. I don't know, really what's going on with Harrison. That's something I like, that they're not really telling us what's going on with him, which makes him more and more interesting of a character, because if they were to just reveal what was going on between him, I wouldn't be as happy as that. So I'm glad that they're just keeping that very under wraps. I definitely, enjoy that. And I like seeing, that, they're basically not telling us anything still. So, Tony comes back to Iris, again, putting her in grave danger. So, Barry and Eddie are working on some boxing moves when an officer tells them that Iris is missing, and Cisco and Caden are still tampering with the numbers for Barry's top speed, because they're trying to figure out, what is Barry's top speed here. That's kind of been a question all season long, is how fast Barry can actually go. So, Tony has kidnapped Iris, and he lies to her and tells her that this was awesome what happened here. Because he literally tells her the streak is dead. I'm not kidding, he says to her the streak is dead. So, I thought that was definitely, very interesting, that he just randomly, said, oh, by the way, the streak is dead. So, basically, a central city cop informs Barry and Eddie of her abduction, and Barry then tells Joe that Barry then tells Joe about this, and, Tony then takes Iris across town to their old high school, where he basically tells her that he killed the Flash and everything, and she pulls a fire alarm and tries fleeing, but she can't, and the police department picks up the alarm, however, and Barry gets their location. This was an awesome action scene. This last action scene I thought was very, very well done. It definitely really paid off. So, this time, it basically avoids Tony's punches while hitting him with objects. Barry comes in, he's fighting smarter this time, but it's still not enough, because he's landing too many punches on Barry. And Barry then remembers that it's smarter to flee a fight when possible, and he runs 5.3 miles away, the perfect distance to accelerate to match 1.1 charging in a direct path, and he then socks Tony at supersonic speed and knocks him out. And he then takes Tony to the Star Labs prison, and he reveals his identity to Tony and chastises him for using his human abilities to hurt others instead of harming them. So, feeling basically proud of himself, basically feeling proud of himself and everything for besting his childhood bully. He's very happy about this because it's something he's always wanted to do, and I really like the way the show did this. This was a big accomplishment for Barry. You can tell that he has wanted to do this pretty much all his life. He wanted to take down his childhood bully. This was the guy that bullied him throughout high school. This was the guy who told him that, he was more in love with Iris than her. He gave him a lot of problem, a very hard time. And when he took him out, now he knows that he's dead and everything. And it's great for this to happen to Barry. I'm very happy for Barry because of that. So he then discovered something very interesting because Joe apologizes to Harrison for suspecting that his particle accelerator work is somehow involved in Nora's murder. However, we find out that this has nothing to do with it because we actually find out that Harrison lost his wife right around the same time Nora died. So basically, they now trust each other again, but I don't trust Harrison at all. I really don't trust him, especially with the whole gorilla thing last week. I definitely don't trust him after that. So I definitely feel he's still trying to either cover something up, or there's something he's just not telling Joe. I don't know what he's not telling him, but I definitely feel there's something that he knows that Joe doesn't know. So I'm interested in seeing what that is. But they're not the only two to make amends, because Barry approaches Iris, and the whole episode, they've been very distant. She hasn't really gone against his wishes, and he apologized for distancing himself from her, and the two put the past behind them. Unfortunately, Iris discusses how she's following tons of metahumans now, which, this is huge. One of them sounds a lot like Pyro. So, obviously, this is not a good thing, what's going on here. And I love the way this is done, because basically Barry says that, she's talking about the Flash and everything, she's talking about the streak and everything, and he's saying, so you mean like a Flash, and that's how the name The Flash happens, and I think that's awesome, and it makes sense why the episode's called The Flash is Born because of that, because now the name The Flash is going to be a thing, and she says it's definitely going to catch on, and I thought that was cheesy, but well done. That's the thing I like about The Flash. There are times when it comes across as very cheesy, but at the same time, it comes across as very well done. Just a lot of fun to watch. The Flash is a fun show, and I definitely like that. And let's get to the post-credit scene in this episode, because the post-credit scene in this episode is very, very interesting. Because Joe is looking into old case files on Nora's murder, but his work is cut short when he's paid a visit by the man in the yellow suits, or Professor Zoom. And Zoom creates a small vortex in Joe's house before leaving him unharmed, but he leaves a message written on Joe's wall, and it says, "Stop or else," and below the message hangs a photo of Iris tacked to the wall with a dagger. Oh shit, this is not going to end well at all, and this is not going to be good for Joe at all, and I can't wait to see what happens next. This is going to be awesome to watch. I think that was the perfect way to end the episode. I absolutely love that ending. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, and this episode, I didn't think it was as good as episode 4, but it was probably the second best episode of the season. I was really into it. I have to admit, guys, last week's episode was not best episode of the season. It was kind of filler. I don't know what I was thinking. I think that this episode, though, was very interesting. I really love the way they connected the villain to what was going on with Barry in his personal life. I like the way they do it, and I hope they continue to do that, because, I like that they don't just bring in random metahumans. I like that they are in some way connected to Barry, and I like the way that's done, definitely. So I have some questions for you guys, definitely. First of all, do you think that Harrison is still hiding something? I just feel that there is something he's covering up. He's a very shady person. There's too much we found out about him for them to just say, oh, he's okay now. No, there's no way. The Gorilla Grodd thing, no way that he is good. So I still don't know what he is hiding. Captain Zoom. I don't know who this guy is. Professor Zoom, Captain Zoom, whatever his name is. Professor Zoom. I don't know who this guy is, but do you think he's the one that killed Barry's mother? I kind of feel like he killed Barry's mother, and what's happening is that because he killed Barry's mother, what's going to end up happening is that if Joe finds out, then he's going to kill Iris. Now, that's obviously not going to happen, because Iris is our second main character here, and our female lead, so that's obviously not going to happen here. Also, with Iris and Barry, do you think that her now writing about the Flash is actually going to be a good thing? I mean, Barry seems to be happy about it. He doesn't seem to be upset about it anymore, especially because she's writing about a ton of other metahumans. However, it's not going to end for her well in the end, especially when, you know, there are going to be more metahumans they find every single week. So if they find a bad one, then it's going to be really bad for Iris, and I definitely feel very bad for her. But if something bad does happen to her, she pretty much did that to herself, so that's not going to be good. And I guess my only other question is what's going to happen with what's gonna happen with, you know, the humans and everything. That's gonna be interesting. And I love the way that, you know, the thing I do like about the show is that there's not a ton of stuff going on yet, because we are setting up for the Flash versus Arrow, and I think that's when we're gonna get, like, a really, really intense episode, because while this episode was very intense, there was fun stuff going on it, which I definitely really liked. And those are things that I really like about The Flash, is how fun it is, how fast-paced it is, and just how great of a show it is overall. I definitely really do enjoy that about the show, and something I'll pretty much always enjoy about The Flash. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I thought this episode was very good. I definitely really enjoyed it. And I think it was, as I said, probably the second best episode of the season. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I'm so pumped for, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.